Being a tourist attraction isn't easy, especially when you're doing something as important as guarding the royal family. These highly trained animals represent the pinnacle of the British forces, working alongside their equally impressive riders. Unfortunately, respect isn't something every tourist brings with them when visiting royal residences. The royal cavalry horses stand tall and proud outside Buckingham Palace and other royal residences. Warning signs are posted clearly: danger, horses may kick or bite. These notices aren't suggestions, they're serious warnings based on countless incidents. Yet despite these clear cautions, some visitors can't resist pushing their luck. Today we're looking at what happens when tourists ignore these warnings and end up learning their lesson the hard way. These horses aren't your friendly neighborhood ponies. They're military-trained animals capable of responding to combat situations. When tourists treat them like petting zoo attractions, consequences can be immediate and painful. Our main incident occurred on a sunny Tuesday morning outside Buckingham Palace. The household cavalry was stationed as usual, their magnificent black horses standing perfectly still despite the swarms of tourists. These horses, specifically bred for their size, strength and temperament, undergo intensive training alongside their riders. Most are black, as this color was traditionally preferred for ceremonial purposes due to their imposing appearance. A young woman in her 20s, wearing a bright yellow sundress and clearly excited to be visiting the palace, approached the guard and his horse for a photo. Signs warning visitors to maintain their distance were posted every few meters, but she either didn't notice them or chose to ignore them entirely. Several other tourists watched from behind the designated barriers, taking photos from a safe and respectful distance. The footage shows her inching closer, smiling for her friend's camera. The guard remained still, following protocol, though you can notice his eyes tracking her movement. The horse, however, began showing signs of discomfort, ears flicking back, slight shifts in stance. These warning signals went unheeded by the tourist, who was focused on getting the perfect shot. When she reached out to touch the horse's face, disaster struck in an instant. The animal, feeling threatened by the stranger invading its space, turned its head sharply and bit down on her arm. The tourist's scream echoed across the courtyard as she jumped back, clutching her injured arm. The bite didn't break skin through her sleeve, but left an immediate bruise and certainly delivered a painful lesson. The guard's response was immediate but measured. "Stand back from the King's Life Guard," he commanded in the authoritative tone these guards are famous for. This wasn't rudeness, it was a professional soldier doing his job, maintaining order and ensuring safety for both the public and the animals in his care. Palace security quickly approached, checking on the tourist while creating space between her and the horse. The woman was visibly shaken but refused medical attention, likely more wounded in pride than body. She was escorted away from the immediate area as security explained why the barriers and warning signs exist in the first place. "These are working military horses, not attractions," the security officer could be heard explaining. "The signs are there for your protection. These animals are trained for combat situations and can react unpredictably when touched by strangers." This incident isn't isolated. Footage from royal residences around London shows similar occurrences happening with alarming frequency. At Horse Guards Parade, another tourist, a middle-aged man in a Hawaiian shirt, ignored multiple warnings and approached a horse from behind, attempting to pose next to it. The animal, startled by his sudden presence, kicked out reflexively, narrowly missing the man but sending him stumbling backward in shock. In another incident at Windsor Castle, a teenager attempting to feed a guard's horse received a sharp nip on her fingers when she held out an unauthorized treat. The guard immediately called out, "Step back from the horse," but the warning came too late. The girl withdrew her hand, learning a painful lesson about respecting boundaries. Former Household Cavalry Officer Captain James Henley explains, "These horses undergo intensive training alongside their riders. They're selected for their temperament and abilities, but they remain animals with natural defensive instincts. When a stranger approaches suddenly or touches them without warning, they can perceive it as a threat." Captain Henley continues, "What many tourists fail to understand is that these aren't decorative features. They're working military animals performing an important duty. The riders and horses form a close bond through training, and the animals know to trust their riders. A stranger reaching out can trigger protective responses. The consequences of these interactions aren't limited to tourists getting bitten or kicked. Each incident creates stress for the animals and potentially disrupts important ceremonial duties. In extreme cases, horses may need to be temporarily removed from service if they become too agitated, affecting the entire regiment's operations." Dr. Miranda Fletcher, an equine behavior specialist, notes that even well-trained military horses have limits to their tolerance. These animals show remarkable restraint given the environment they work in, crowded, noisy, with constant movement around them. But every horse has boundaries that shouldn't be crossed, and touching without permission is universally unwelcome. She adds, the biting response we see in these incidents is a natural defensive mechanism. Horses use their teeth in the wild to establish boundaries with other horses. When a stranger invades their space, this instinctive response can emerge despite their training. One particularly concerning trend is parents allowing or even encouraging their children to approach the horses. Footage from last summer shows a father lifting his young daughter toward a horse's face for a photo opportunity. The guard immediately shouted, "Stand back," before the child could be put at risk. The father appeared offended at first but quickly retreated when security approached. Children are at particular risk, explains Dr. Fletcher. They're smaller, more unpredictable in their movements and don't understand the danger. Parents need to maintain control of their children around these animals at all times. The rules are simple and clearly posted throughout royal grounds. Maintain a safe distance from the horses and guards. Do not touch, feed, or attempt to distract the horses. Follow all posted signs and barriers. Comply immediately with any instructions from guards or security personnel. These guidelines aren't in place to diminish the tourist experience but to ensure safety for everyone involved, visitors, guards, and animals alike. The most respectful way to appreciate these magnificent creatures and the tradition they represent is from the designated viewing areas. For those who do respect the boundaries, the changing of the guard and other ceremonial displays offer spectacular photo opportunities and glimpses into centuries of British tradition. The horses, when viewed safely from a distance, showcase the results of expert training and care. Colonel Richard Williams, Ret., who served with the Household Cavalry for over 20 years, emphasizes that the guards themselves are caught in a difficult position during these incidents. These soldiers are performing a serious duty with significant responsibilities. They're not actors or entertainers, but trained military personnel following strict protocols. When tourists behave inappropriately, he continues, guards must maintain their composure while also ensuring safety and security. It's a challenging balance that they handle with remarkable professionalism. The occasional sharp command is not rudeness. It's necessary communication in potentially dangerous situations. Security at royal residences has adapted over the years as tourism has increased. White lines painted on the ground show safe viewing distances, and barriers have been installed at key points. Additional security personnel now patrol tourist areas specifically to prevent visitors from getting too close to the horses and guards. Sergeant Michael Phillips, who works in visitor management at royal properties, notes that most incidents occur despite these precautions. We have signs in multiple languages, clear barriers, and staff providing verbal warnings. Unfortunately, some visitors are so determined to get that perfect photo that they disregard all safety measures. He adds, "We don't want to ruin anyone's experience, but safety must come first. The horses, guards, and other visitors all deserve respect and consideration. The consequences for disregarding these rules can extend beyond an uncomfortable bite or kick. Tourists who persistently ignore warnings or behave disrespectfully may be escorted from the premises, and in serious cases, police involvement can lead to fines or even charges for public disturbance or interfering with official duties." In one notable case from 2018, a tourist who repeatedly attempted to touch a guard's horse despite multiple warnings was arrested and fined £250 for disorderly conduct. The court noted that his actions had put himself, the guard, the horse, and bystanders at unnecessary risk. For the vast majority of the millions who visit royal residences each year, these incidents remain fascinating but cautionary tales of what not to do. Most visitors maintain a respectful distance, follow posted guidelines, and enjoy the spectacle without incident. The young woman from our opening story later posted about her experience on social media, admitting her mistake. "I should have paid attention to the signs," she wrote. "Those horses aren't there for entertainment. They're working animals with an important job." Lesson painfully learned. Her honesty prompted thousands of comments from others sharing their own observations of tourist behavior around royal guards and horses. Many expressed frustration at seeing visitors disrespect these important traditions, while others admitted they too had been tempted to get closer than permitted for better photos. The message from all official sources remains consistent: appreciate the royal guards and their horses from a safe distance. The tradition stretches back centuries and offers a glimpse into Britain's historical and military heritage. This rich cultural experience doesn't require crossing barriers or touching the animals. In fact, the most meaningful appreciation comes from respecting the boundaries that allow these ceremonies to continue safely. Next time you visit a royal residence, take a moment to observe the warnings and guidelines. Notice the magnificent horses from a respectful distance. Admire the precision and discipline of the guards without interfering with their duties. And remember that the most memorable tourist experiences come from respectful engagement, not from pushing boundaries that exist for everyone's protection. After all, you don't want to become the next viral video of a tourist learning the hard way why those "do not touch" signs exist at the royal palace.